certainly, I think with anything, you just need to practice, practice, practice. So our first section with this, I said it's really long. Look, it's all coming off, by the way. We're going to do a section that replicates our line here. So it's a horizontal section. You can do it as wide or as narrow as you like. I'll do this sort of like somewhere in the middle. This is my in the middle, so yours might be slightly different for me. And I'm just going to separate it in two, so I'm not working with such a big section. I want to be working with these two knuckles here and here, so I can get enough tension in my fingers. I've got a little gap at the bottom here, which means I don't get any tension there, so it's not a very good place to sort of, for me anyway, to try and grab hair. The next thing you want to decide is, do you want it shorter at the front, shorter the same length all the way around, or longer at the front and shorter at the back? So that's the decision you got to make. That will choose your finger angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for an angle that's shorter at the front and longer at the back. Let's bring that back so you can see a little bit better. So what you'll see is, and we've got some questions coming in, we're going to just cut along like that. Now, I'm working the opposite side of the head so that you can see what's going on. So you would be looking sort of from around this side, so you'd see my back if I was, if I was doing it in salon. Next section just underneath. In fact, let's do that whole one all the way across first. I got all a little bit overexcited there and decided to do the bit beneath. So still keeping that diagonal, so it's slightly shorter at the front and longer towards the back. And the reason why this section in here goes behind the ears is this is going to be our guide for when we come to do the back in a second. So we're just sort of planning the haircut out a little bit, not just sort of going straight in there and having a go. So now we're on the bottom section underneath this one. Elevate up to the same point in space. So by that I mean we're pulling it up to exactly the first place that we cut the hair to. So we're not going past it, we're not going below it, we're going just to exactly where it was before. The reason why we don't, we want a consistent amount of elevation. So when we cross-check this, what we'll find is we'll get a shape that's shorter going out to longer like this. So we'll lift it out probably at 90 like that, and you'll find it go right the way out like that. So let's elevate this up. Again, the other reason why we're elevating this up is it just encourages us to leave enough length around by the ears, because these are often places that can be a bit of a struggle to make nice and soft. And it's often, it gets harder to do the shorter the hair becomes, because hair gets denser the shorter it is. So then leaving some length, it just means that density becomes a little bit more see-through and you can soften it up a little bit more. So that's the reason why we want to try and keep a little bit of length at the bottom there. Now we're going to adjust that possibly down the line. Well, probably most definitely are, because it might be way too long, but you're better leaving too much hair than not enough, because you can't put it back, can you? So diagonal finger angle. Again, the reason why we've got a diagonal finger angle, we want it shorter at the front and longer towards the back. We're elevating the hair up. Elevation will give us maximum amount of softness. All this hair is not being moved left to right, so you'll find that it's just in pure elevation. It's just elevated all the way straight up like that. And then when you let this come down, you'll see you've got loads and loads of length around here, which we can look to adjust when we want to do that in a second. So we're better leaving it, like I said, too much, and we can cut it off. If it's gone, we can't put it back again. So let's have another little check. All good. Let's do the old cross check, make sure that's looking okay. So what we should find with this is we've got a shape that builds out horizontally this way when we elevate it up. So let's just show you. Just do a big sign of the cross to the cross-section gods to make sure that we're doing what we think we're doing. So let's, oh, hello. Let's do it that way. So what we should find, it goes from shorter here to longer out there. So you're finding that's exactly what we wanted it to do. Nice quick section. You could do that in one section if you wanted to. For this, we just want to give you a few goes at it, and if you're practicing it, I'd always suggest, you know, you could even start, I mean, obviously I'm cutting loads off, but you could start right the way out here and gradually get shorter, shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until you get it to the length you want to get it to. Otherwise, you know, your head's not going to last that long. So just take your time when you're doing it. Don't feel that you need to steam in straight away. Although it does look really dramatic when you do that. So elevate this hair up on the sides to where you cut it. Now the back bit, so this back section we're looking at. So it's going to section off some underneath here. We're going to drop this bit down underneath there. So let me just do that first of all. So we'll take that section out. That can just stay on that one there. And we got this section, which you should see a little bit clearer now. There we go, like that. So we'll do this in a bigger section just so you can see. We're going to get our guide from the side there. Now again, you need to decide, do you want it longer at the back, so your fingers are going to come out this way? Do you want it the same length, or do you want to start coming in shorter around the back? So do you want this back section to come in shorter? So what you'd need to do then is you'd need to angle your fingers in like that, so it starts coming in shorter towards centre back, and you leave that length around where my knuckles are there. But we'll go something that's sort of straight across the back here. So look for our guide, horizontal line. Like I said, we've got all that hair in that section, so it's going to look very, very soft. There's nothing wrong with doing big sections. What it will result in, though, is something that's softer and a little bit more, what should we say, looser. So you could chip into this, which I'm going to do in a second, actually. So chipping into this will give you a slightly softer look as well. But elevation will just do that on its own. So if you ever want something softer, just think, I need to probably lift it up a little bit more to get rid of some of those blunt lines. So this will then sit over the top of all this length underneath here. So it'll just come down over the top like that. Now this is way too long round here, so we're going to need to do some adjustments with this. So this is what we're going to do next. And again, a lot of this is personal choice. Your client might be like, oh, I want to keep the length around the bottom. That's cool, you just don't cut that bit soft. But if you're looking at it and thinking, actually, it needs a little bit of adjustment there, then this is what you're going to do. You're going to take a vertical section. A vertical section is going to help you just flatten the shape off of it a little bit, or help you be more consistent when you want to flatten it off. And then what you're going to do then is you've got, like I said, you've got all this length that we knew we were going to keep. We're going to start to whittle that down or take it down a little bit. So I think we're probably going to need to take that much off. It's still keeping it longer through here. So my fingertips are still pointing outwards a little bit more, not sort of relaxing off. Now that's way more comfortable than doing that. And the temptation is to start doing that and cut it off too short. But I'm going to come in, tips of my fingers out, and then we'll point cut this one. So blade on the finger, not the non-closing blade. You can move that up and down your finger, and then you just need to bring it into the hair to cut that off, and hopefully not cut your fingers. Now, I did preempt. I bought some plasters, and I went and found them before we started, because I don't know about you, when I'm in the salon, way too many times when I've gone to look for plasters and there's been none there. Or they're not where I last left them, which is always a little bit annoying. So just in case, so comb onto your previous section. You're going to comb forward onto the previous section. That's the reason why you're combing that way. And what I'd suggest you do is put your finger where your section is that you're combing to. So you know exactly where you're going to. Comb it on, bring it out. We're going to cut all that off. Like I said, we wanted to get rid of some of that hair because it's just a little bit too long. This hair's dropping downwards, you can see. Sometimes when we're chipping this way, you're sort of chasing the hair and it won't really get into it. So what you can do, if you come upwards as you chip, the hair's falling into the blade. It's falling into the blade. Into the blade. All right, so you'll find you're not having to work quite as hard. So drop that down, have a little look. Decide if that's the length you like. Round the ear's good. It's breaking a little bit through the ear place, so that's really good as well. So I've got something that's going to still look nice and soft. So we'll continue with that. We're now going to whack our head over to the side. Now, sometimes you need to get your clients into some awkward positions so that it's a little bit more comfortable for you to be able to work, and that's okay. Just bear in mind that your body position might change. You might start getting some different results, so just bear that in mind. So another vertical section. Vertical section, like I said, the reason why is because it's going to encourage us to keep a flatter finger angle. It won't definitely make it flatter. You know, guides are just there. They don't make you exactly do it, but it just helps you when you come to put your finger in. So my fingers move back a little bit because I don't want to pull this all the way to the front. It's going to get way too long. So my fingers move to the previous section, comb on to the previous section. With your comb, come back the other way, look for your guide. There's your guide. Chippy, chippy. Straight blade is going to be on this finger. Moving blade. And just chip as you go up. Take your time. You might need to have another little look. There's a couple of little bits there I've missed. Look. Oh. You can call that disconnection some places, you know. Chip, chip, chip. Get that bit off. Have a little look. Comb it down. Assess what's happened. I said a lot of this is going to be worked on at the end when it's dry. So that's something to bear in mind. What questions? Have we got any questions coming in? We started at the side before. Ah, right, okay, that's a great question. So Elizabeth, I start at the side because between myself and the client, we can work out how short we want to do it. I don't know about you, it's happened a lot. I've started at the back, and normally, if we're not very confident, the back's a really good place because you know what you can do? You can hide. You can hide around the back, thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? If you start at the side, the great thing with that is you can talk to your client and go, how short do you want this? Do you want it here? Do you want it here? Do you want it here? And you can cut a little bit. Well, leave it here for now. And she goes, what do you think of that? And they might go, can I have it a bit shorter? And you go, cut it a little bit shorter. And they go, yeah, that's right. So it just saves a little bit of that time that you might get if you start at the back and by the time you get to the front, they go, oh, can I have it shorter? And you've got to cut the whole lot. So just bear that in mind. So it's a great question. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Mr. Beginning. It will be on forever. Yes, everyone's like, you've been there with the plasters. But yeah, great question with the side bit. The sides, like I said, you can start anywhere. There's no hard and fast rules with hair cutting. And certainly what you'll tend to do is you'll go back to what you traditionally have been taught to do, maybe when you first started out, and you'll just habitually go back to that. If you are one of those people that works from the back, goes from the back to the front, I'm having a guess here. It's an educated guess. But what you'll find is a lot of your haircuts will be longer towards the front. They will be longer towards the front. Somebody needs to ask me why. You just need to type why, that's it. Because there is a reason why. And it's one of those things, once you know it, you're like, oh yeah, it's probably is that. It doesn't matter how hard you try to try and get it short at the front. It's always, always, always longer. And if I don't get a why, I'm going to tell you. Why, Elizabeth? She's on the go. Keep going, Elizabeth. That's great stuff. So, back of the head, here. Wait, let's do it this way, actually. So if you work from the back, what you tend to do, you have to lean forward to pick up the hair. But leaning forward isn't very comfortable. So what you tend to do is you relax back like this. Oh, that's better. And you over-direct without even realising it. So that's the reason why it gets longer at the front. You might think your fingers are there, and unless you've got your client facing this way, a bit like we've got the camera here, and you're checking to make sure your fingers are doing what you think you're doing, what tends to happen is you just relax back like that, and you'll over-direct it. So that'll be the reason why. I'm terrible with short. Hey, look, all got to start somewhere. So does that make sense, Elizabeth? Great question. So yeah, it'll just be doing, where your body position is in regards to where you pull hair to. This is a really comfortable place to pull hair to. And if you're unaware of that, you might start doing things without realising it. But you can use it to your advantage as well. So another vertical section. Finger to the previous section. Comb onto the previous section. all this hair is coming out at sort of 90 degrees in relation to the room. So the grains of the hair are coming out 90. Start lifting up a little bit higher. So we're probably traditionally in the graduation sort of stage. So anything below 90 or on 90, we tend to think of as graduation. And anything above 90, we're in the layering sort of phase of doing stuff. So again, yeah, you'll tend to get a slightly heavier shape with that. So lots of chipping into. It's going to help soften with this. We're chipping up into the hair this way because the hair's naturally bending over and falling in this way. So that's the reason why we're coming up like that. And again, as we get towards the bottom here, what you'll find is if you're keeping a straight vertical finger angle like so, it's naturally going to get longer between here and your fingers as you get towards the bottom. And the reason why that is because the head shape rounds that way away from you. Oh, hello, let's get that bit. So the hair's got further to travel to get to where your fingers are. So it's automatically going to get longer. And if that's something that you struggle with, you find this bottom bit tends to get a little bit baggy or it doesn't set in enough, I guarantee it's because your fingers have just started to drift out. So it can happen that way. Or what it can also happen is people, let's do it this way so you can see. They'll think they have this finger angle through the back, and what ends up happening is this starts becoming a little bit more like that, and it leaves all this length through the bottom. So bear that in mind. Double check your finger angle. Are your fingers pointing in the direction where you want it shorter? Is it pointing in the direction you want it shorter? Because if it's not, it's going to be longer. So, another vertical section. Let's bring this bit down. Fingers travelled round. We're now to sort of like corner back, just centre backs here, corner back sort of over here. Over direct to previous section. Look for your guide. Again, this hair's dropping down this way. That's the reason why we're coming up. Chip into the hair like so for now. We can do a lot more refining on this and do a little bit more work to make sure that it's a softer shape. Like I said, I'm going to show you on the other side in a little bit. So again, that's coming down into there. Chip into that. And the last section, which is there, get that bit off like so. So what you'll find on this, so just a little recap on both sides and the back, is we elevated all this hair up to here to start off with. And we looked at our finger angle. So did we want it shorter at the front, same length all the way around? Or did we want it shorter at the back and longer at the front? So that's why we had this finger angle, is because we wanted to make sure that this angle was shorter at the front and got longer towards the back. And we're only elevating the hair in line with the section that we've taken. So if you're looking at it this way, that's the line that we've taken. We've just decided when we're looking at it this way, if it's shorter at the front, longer at the back, but that's where we're elevating the hair up to. As we get through the back, again, this section underneath here was sectioned out of the way. This got elevated up to this point here. And again, we decided, did we want to go same length from one side to the other? Do we want it shorter in the middle? Or do we want to leave it longer in the middle? Longer in the middle. We decided to go for something that was the same length from one side to the other, so it could be a more rounded shape on that. Then when we got back to this, we looked at this and we're like, oh, that's way too long. So what we need to do with that is we took vertical sections. The reason why we took vertical sections are going to tend to help us flatten the shape off. And our finger angle, rather than being diagonal with length and volume at the bottom, ended up being still a diagonal with a little bit of length at the bottom, but a flatter shape. So it starts bringing this shape in this way a little bit more. We took vertical sections all the way around the head, over directing to our previous section. So our fingers started at the front here, and by the time we finished, if your fingers aren't here, then you're over directing. If you're over here somewhere, you're pulling the hair over to this side, and you'll find you get loads and loads of length through here. So if you've got loads of length through there, it's possibly because your fingers haven't travelled all the way around to the back. There we go with that. Next bit, the top. So you can see we've got this horseshoe section, or this curved section that goes from centre back all the way around to the recession area through here. it follows the parietal ridge, or the bony bit that sticks out here on your head. So if you're unsure, you can just have a little feel now. So it'll be this bit here. So the section's following that particular bit. And all you want to do with it is we're going to take a section that follows that curved one. We're going to drop it down onto the section that we've already pre-cut. So let's bring this around like so. Now the decision you've got to make with this is, do you keep it at the same elevation? Do you elevate it up a little bit more? Because if you keep it the same elevation, so elevation is here, it's going to get longer as it gets towards the middle, and you're going to end up with something that looks a bit more pointy like that. If you don't want that to happen, what you're going to need to do is your fingers are going to need to follow the head shape round, and you're going to start taking off some more length through the middle bit there. What I've done on the other side, which you'll see in a second, is I've pulled everything over to here. So it's quite heavy, and it needs a lot of work to get the thickness and the bulk out of it. So our guideline is underneath here. The hair gets dropped down over our guide underneath, and if you're looking from above, you're looking down to see where that guide is. So you lift up, you can see it just underneath there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to chip your line in so that it connects with the little piece underneath. So Andreas, Mike's, we've got a fair few people watching. Great stuff. Who else have we got? Now, Tatiana, Mr. I'll give it, apologies if my pronunciation isn't good. Jason, that's an easy one. Cardi, hi. So let's keep going. Let's keep going down through here. So allow the hair to fall where it naturally wants to fall. Reason why we're doing that, if you had a bit of a crown that jumped up a little bit, you don't want to be cutting it and it going in completely the wrong place and having a bit of a like, oh my goodness me, what's happened there? So allow it to drop where it wants to fall. Look for your guide underneath. You can double check by picking the hair up and having a little look. And then what you want to do is you want to chip that hair off like so, using a chipping motion. Again, bottom blade's resting on my finger, and I'm cutting as I come away. Cutting as I come away from the fingers. And again, the reason why I'm doing that, it doesn't mean that you're not going to cut your fingers, but it's going to reduce the likelihood that that might be a possibility. So cut as you come away. So no real tension on that, just allowing the hair to sort of drape into your fingers. You've got a little bit of control. You can see it's just connecting up that bottom bit underneath. Next section, exactly the same thing. Horseshoe section, thin enough that you can see through it. So when you drop it down, you want to be able to see your guide underneath. Garba, that's a great name. So let that drop down like that. Everybody's got great names, by the way. Just get that in there as well. Have a little look underneath. Look for your guide. There it is. And then what we want to do is go and keep your straight blade on your fingers, loose bit of tension to allow that hair to go where it naturally wants to go. And then you're going to just take that hair off and pivot the head round, or you need to move round. Again, if you're not pivoting round or moving the head round, the possibility is you might get it into either direction. We really want to keep it where the hair naturally falls. And like I said, the reason why we want to do that, so when this haircut's done, it will just look really cool without actually doing too much to it. You know, just be a little bit of product and that'll be fine. Juliana, hiya. Just come around there. So last section, we're going to drop this last section down over the top like that. Like I said, it's got a long way to travel, so it's come all the way from the centre of this head over to the outside edge, around to where the parietal ridge is. And what we're finding is it's gonna, like I said, you'll see it in a second, it'll get very, very long towards the middle. Like I said, the good thing when it's longer is you can cut it off. It's too long. You're always better leaving too much length and adjusting. All right, that'd be the one thing I'd really want you to take away from this, and other stuff as well. But you know, that's the main thing. Just remember that you can always, always, always cut more off. Because if it's too short, well, probably about 3 weeks' time, it's going to look like a decent haircut or a better haircut. And often it's one of those things, one of the things I tend to find with short hair is, I was having a conversation in salon the other day, and with myself and my other half, she's a hairdresser as well. And she's got a client who's got really, really short hair. She's got this thing that tends to happen when she's got glasses on. She's got a little bit of length beneath that, and what tends to happen, the hair sort of pushes in here and flicks out. And Louise, that's my other half, she said to me, what do you think I should do with this? So between myself, Louise, and our client, we had a little sort of like group consultation. And I always think it's quite a nice thing to do, because, I mean, I don't know about you, sometimes I really struggle to think of what the bloody hell should I do with this person's hair? And getting somebody else in on it can often give you, an insight, or a client an insight into something that they possibly might not go for, but because they've heard somebody else say it, it's you know, they're more inclined to go with it. Because you've been doing the hair for a long time, suddenly they don't believe you. It's like, oh, you don't really know what you're talking about. Listen, I think I was over-directed the front through fear. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to over-direct, because like I said, you're always going to leave length in the opposite direction. So if you're unsure about things, there's a couple of things you can do. You can either elevate the hair so that you leave length. You can change your finger angle so it leaves length towards the bottom. Or if you're doing it so you want to leave length at the front, you could do it with your finger angle, or you could over-direct it. There's so much you can do. But yeah, what brands of scissors am I using? Well, these ones are Acacia. So these, yeah, I like using those. Green Mouse I've been using as well. There's quite a few different brands out there, but yeah, use whatever fits your hands better. And if you're somebody that struggles with holding scissors like this and cutting, so your scissors are moving, not your wrist, or very minimal, a suggestion would be you get one of the scissors that have got this bit that swivels round, because it'll just help protect your wrist a little bit more. Often we put our thumbs right in like that, and then to get the scissors into position, you've got to start moving lots and lots of other bits and bobs to get it in the right way. Also, you'll find if you're doing it long enough, you end up with those brown bandages here because you've got a repetitive strainage wrist. So just bear that in mind. So there's a little bit on scissors and holding them. Round graduation on short hair, yeah. Don't forget, if you're doing round graduation here, it's the same thing if you're doing it out here. So if you're doing a long round graduation on a long haircut and you're fearful of doing a short graduate, it's the same thing, it's just here, it's not out there. So try and get that into your head. If you're somebody that does lots and lots of long hair, you know, maybe I'm just plucking this one out of the air, sort of square layers, you're doing something like this, just think, it's not here, it's there. So you can do it, it's just 20 inches shorter. Hi Corey, nice to meet you. So that's a little bit just on the cutting side of that. And like I said, let's just show you that what's happened on this top bit here. So when we pick up a section to cross-check it, you'll see all that short bit there, and then all of this length through the middle here. So we've got loads and loads of length there for us to play around and take down shorter if we need be. So we'll section this bit out of the way, and now we're going to work on the side that I've already done, but look at how we can finish or texturize some more so. So you'll see she's looking quite hard round here. Still got some length overviews, which is cool. And then it's sort of soft around the back there. So there's some things we can do to help make this look softer. So we're going to do a little bit of work just with some straight shears first of all. These are straight shears. We'll do a little bit of work with some thinners or texturizers. I like them, lots of people don't. And even more controversial, razors. Now, there isn't a right or wrong tool. There's lots of opinions on what's right or wrong. But if it's something you use or don't use, have a go at practicing it a few times first, because it does make a difference. Certain tools will only give you certain looks, and often what tends to happen if we don't have a great experience with it, or clients don't have a great experience with it, we then tend to steer clear of it. Now, I trained at Sassoon's many moons ago, and one of the things we were always told is that you can't use thinning scissors and you can't use round brushes. That was what it was like then. Possibly might have changed now, but they're tools that I'd be cutting somebody's hair and they go, oh, I only have it scissor over comb, don't have it clippered because clippers are bad. And I'm like, they're not bad, it's just that you might have had a bad experience using them, and it's the same with the other tools. So let's crack on with this. So I'm going to take a vertical section. If you're looking at it from the side, if you're looking at it from the top, it's horizontal. So we've got lots and lots of length here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a length along this diagonal that I want this hair behind it. So this hair over this side, I want to be shorter or to the same length. So that's the point I'm going to go to here. So I'm going to put my scissors down by where my fingers are here, and I'm going to open and close the blade very, very gently like that using this point of the scissor. When I get to the length I like up here, I'm going to close the scissor. And in my head, it's always better doing it in your head, don't do it the other way, so clients will think you're going crazy. You'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and close. Start at the bottom here, sort of deep point cutting. In my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close. Next piece along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close, and next piece along. So it just helps me, the counting. The reason why I'm counting is it just gives me the chance to make this more consistent through here. Sometimes I can do this, or I can do deep point cutting and slice out, and that's cool, but you can sometimes lose some of the control on that. So by in your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and closing, it just helps you get more control and getting a more consistent length cut down, as well as taking the bulk out. So we're going to go a section just in front. So drop the head forward. Horizontal section, as you're looking at it from the top, you're looking at it from the side, it'd be a vertical one. Elevate the hair up. Hairs or fingers are moving forward because we want to look at taking some of this weight away. So our fingers aren't staying towards the back, our fingers are moving more towards the front. If they stay back here, what you'll find is it'll start to get longer because you're over directing it. So just bear that in. Yes, you can. Elizabeth. If I had gold stars for questions, you would be getting the gold star, honestly. You're doing a fantastic job, and it's a really good point you're putting up there. So you can use it, again, they're all techniques you need to try out. Don't just do it. Have a few practice runs first. And one of the things, I talk to clients about this a lot, I don't know if you do out there as well, is clients, you'll get them to try something new, like you might blow dry or style it slightly differently. They'll have a go at doing it once, and if it doesn't go perfectly, they won't do it anymore. Next section, let's just take this up. So I always like to remind those clients that are around when so pick out your guide here, that are around when straighteners first came out. And I remember clients coming in with necks that were, that they burn because they were practicing that much because they wanted to get their hair dead straight. So remember that there's some physical pain sometimes when we're practicing stuff. I don't mean cut your fingers, but just remember how hard you need to practice something before you start to get good at it. So just bear that in mind. So we started sort of through the high point, which is the highest point through here, and our fingers have moved towards the front. The reason why they've moved towards the front is, like I said, we want to start taking some length away from here. So we need to be mindful that our fingers are moving this way. And if you're standing at the back, you might tend to bring this backwards, so just bear that in mind. What we're going to do now is we're going to connect this back section, we're going to come this way, and our fingers are going to move down this way. So, again, if I'm looking at it from the top, this way, it's a horizontal section. If I was looking at it from the side, it'd look like a vertical. Right, so comb this hair up onto our previous section. Got our guide underneath there, so we're going to come in, fingers resting on your scissors, scissors resting on your fingers, counting your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close the scissor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close the scissor. You get the idea. Close it. Drop that down, and again, next section down here. Now, if you wanted to leave this longer on top, you could disconnect it from the sides. You could just cut the sides and leave this bit to hang over the top and then work it in afterwards. That's certainly something you can do. So, like I said, this is just how I'm joining up. I just wanted to make it a haircut that was a little bit more achievable without being too overly complicated. You think we've only got some elevation going on, some changes of the finger angle, and then the top's just brought down to the underneath. So it's a you know, this is the longest bit, probably the chipping into and the texturizing and the moving the hair around bit. But you'll see the shape starts to get a lot higher, Linda. It starts to get a lot more rounded up here, and it's starting to get a little bit more frothy. So frothy, I mean, it's standing up a little bit more. So this is still looking really hard, and I want to do something with that. So what you can do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to look at, because it's quite short, it's going to get denser. So I almost need to bring these scissors right the way up to the hairline up here to look at taking some weight out, all right? Because I want to make this look as tenderly as I possibly can do. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is doing some deep point cutting from the top downwards into the hair. Could come up this way as well, but I need to make sure the tips of the scissors are coming up to the hairline. The challenge you're always going to get with that is you're going to end up probably with some shorter pieces up here, but that will be quite a good thing because it will just pump the hair up a little bit more. So again, visually look, it looks heavier here. So I'm going to come down with my scissors, this motion, don't close your scissors, and we're going to just pick out some areas and look at working on those bits that we want to get a little bit lighter and a little bit softer. So do it a few times, comb it out, froth it up a little bit, have another little look. Hi Mary and Marilyn. So this part of your scissor here, open and close. Pick your point up, only about an inch or so up, so exactly where the hairline is. Just slicing down like so, very small movements, just to thin it out and take some weight away. So this is going to leave you the maximum amount of length, and look at softening it a little bit. You can see it's just starting to get a little bit light, starting to see through it, a bit more transparent. Again, look at the points. And one of the things I find that I struggle with when I'm doing this, if I'm doing it in the mirrors, this is exactly what it's like when you're doing this online, is you're looking at the bits thinking, where's the bit that I need to get? So I often just point my finger on it, and then I'll come round to the front, and then I can thin out the bit that I'm looking at, because often the mirror can make your hands do some weird and wonderful stuff. They go all over the place. So again, just look through. So vertically down like that, you're always going to keep maximum amount of softness. What you can do, so we're going to get into a pinching technique now, is we're going to pick up bits that are bothering us, and we're going to come in at an angle. So we're going to come in at a diagonal. And by coming in by a diagonal, we're going to take more hair out. And what we can start to get then is a little bit more of a chunkier look. So still opening, closing in, opening and closing in. Look, they're starting to get a little bit more see-through. This little bit there, pick it up. It's a very, very visual way of cutting. So you're going to look at it, and then just cut the pieces that are getting on your nerves. Now, the challenge you have with this, if you're watching it, is you look at it and you're thinking, oh, I wouldn't cut that bit, I'd leave that bit, I like that bit. It's all individual, and that's the reason why your clients go to you, is because they like the way that you do their hair. You're going to pick up a little piece, there it is. Heel of the scissor, in at a diagonal, and look at taking some of that out. Have another little look. So you might need to come in this way. A little bit of point cutting. Again, you're using lots and lots of different techniques to soften this up. Like I said, once you've got the length off, this can sometimes take longer to do, is all this refining and fine tuning. Hi Maria. So again, just have a little look. Refine that shape. So that's pretty much with straight blades. Now, it is. Texturizing scissors tend to have slightly wider blades. These ones are quite thin and close together, and you'll find texturizing ones have bigger gaps in between them. So the bigger gap just means you're taking more hair out, and you're getting a bit more of a chunkier look. This is more like taking weight out if you're using these types of ones. So you can use them exactly the same thing as straight scissors, all right? So these, if you're somebody that's not confident with doing this type of work where you're looking in the mirror and you're taking weight out, then using your thinning scissors work quite... Yeah, you can use that technique on long hair, great question. You can use it like so to help you practice get better. It's a bit like chopping into hair with your training wheels on. It just helps you create a softer look without the scary bit of using your straight blade. This is where if you cut too much, that's it. You've got a big chunk missing there. So again, physically, or look at the shape, look at it in the mirror, look at what bits are bothering you, and just take your time. All right, that's great. No, you can like any techniques that you see, you can adapt them for long or short. It's all hair, and it'll all react slightly differently, obviously at different lengths, because gravity starts to play a part of it. But yeah, just play around with the techniques. And like I said, these heads are fantastic. Just to, when you get, I don't know, a moment of time that you're just thinking, I want to practice some bits. We don't want to practice on our clients because they're paying top dollar for us to do it. So if you've got a spare moment or two in the salon, you can do one or two things. And trust me, I've had staff over the years that have done this. There's two places people like to go in a salon. They either like to go to reception to check the appointment book that they checked 5 minutes ago and nothing's changed, or they go to the staff room and they ignore this massive bit in the middle called the salon. And that's the bit you can practice in. So if you get any downtime, use it to practice. So one of the other tools you can use is your razor. Again, another tool that people have strong opinions on. So there isn't a right or wrong with using one of these. I like to use them. Don't use them all the time. Use them for specific things. They tend to be quite good for doing hair when it's shorter, because you can just use the pressure to keep the length but to take the bulk away. So through the bottom bit here, we're going to have a flat blade. So flat means more like that, because that's going to encourage us to keep more length. As soon as the blade comes in towards head, we're going to take more length or weight away. So just remember, more off, keeping more. So we're going to keep it nice and flat. Pick the area that you want to take the hair off and just come through and lightly stroke there. A little bit of pressure. You'll see there's already some hair coming off through there. That's what we want. Again, pick up an area that's a little bit higher than where the hair finishes. So maybe an inch or so up. And then you're just going to lightly, a little bit of pressure. Now, this is on dry hair. The blade's a brand new blade. And you're just going to just do a few little bits like that. Linda, that's a great name as well. Pick out the areas that you're looking at and you're thinking, I'm not sure about that. I want to take a bit more weight or a bit more bulk out of it. And just physically, let's keep saying physically, I was saying visually, that's the word I'm looking for. Visually look at what it is you want to do, where you want it shorter, and then start picking those points up and using your razor if that's what you want to use. Like I said, we've gone for something that looks really quite chunky and solid at the start. Hi Sandra, to something now that's looking more broken up and looser, because we've taken a little bit of time either using our razor, thinning scissors or texturizers, or your straight blade. Like I said, there isn't a right or wrong way of doing it. So it's a cap mannequin head form, and when you buy these, you get not only do you get the hair, you get the head as well, I believe. We can find that out for definite. But yeah, again, this just comes off there. So I'm going to take this one off. So like I said, I'll do a little recap on this. I'll show you on a flip chart as well, some of the sectioning, so you can screenshot it. It'll be up here anyway, so you can come back and look at it. So we want to take the head off, undo here, comes off. Then we can put the one that we pre-cut. So that's what it look like on the inside. That's what the top of that looks like. And this is the bit here, is what, see the hole is in the top there. That's what lines up with that. You've also got a little tab at the back here. So you want to make sure that's where it needs to be. Give it a little tap down. And then a little bit of pressure, so I'm just pushing my head down on top of this and just screw that up. Hand tight's normally pretty good, I think. You can, they come with one of these, and that goes onto there like so, and then you can give it half a twist more if you want to, just to make sure that stays on. So that's what she's looking like when we've got her down really, really short. Now I haven't put any products or styling stuff in it, it's just really what we wanted it to look like when it's done. Again, I'll be honest, I've been having a little faff around with this on days. It's been sitting in the corner, so it took me about an hour to do. So using exactly the same technique. It's a little bit shorter possibly through the sides, but it's got this real sort of frothy texture on top again. So just a little recap, and we'll get the old flip chart over in as well. We'll do that now. So this is the section that we did. So it's almost like a horseshoe section. And then we've got our sections around the side here that came down behind the ear. So if you're looking at it side on, these are the sections down here. So you'll see that just here. And then through the back, we split it in two. So just on the occipital bone, this bit was sectioned out. And then we've got this little gap at the top here, which is where our back section was. And then this whole top section was clipped out of the way. So when we cut it, we used a guide. We chose our guide, we just needed to choose what our finger angle was going to be. Was it going to be shorter at the front, same length, or longer at the front? So we had it shorter at the front. Elevated all the hair up to here, which meant all this hair has to get longer to get up to this line. So it left all this length through the bottom, which we then could go back later on and do. Through the back, so here, what we did there is we again elevated up, connected this line to this one we had here, and again let that drop down. And then the top section, everything was allowed to come down to here, and we connected it with the side bits. So you get a really cool looking short cropped haircut. Now, one of the things you're going to find with doing hair is if we're wanting our clients to maybe move on to something different, and we've got super long hair ourselves, and we're saying, you know what the latest trend is? The latest trend is really short hair, but you're sporting long hair. Might be time to have a change yourself. You know, clients look to us for inspiration, you know, getting ideas and, you know, what is it they can do with their hair to make it look different, to make it look better. And these are certainly some of the things we need to be thinking about when we're looking at doing hair ourselves. Is what can we do with ourselves and how we look to inspire those clients that are in there. So tiny little bit of powder. So just think about having your hair cut shorter if you haven't already. Tips of the fingers. So this powder here, now it sort of pumps, which is probably the best dispenser now. So it's got a Redkin product in that one now, because I wasn't going to chuck the dispenser away because it's really good. But it dispenses it all the same. So it's just, that's the name of that company. The dispenser is probably the best one I've found for that. And then I'm using some texture paste, I reckon. So tiny little piece on your hand here. So when you're styling, what I'd suggest you do when you're talking to your clients is show them what to do. Put your paste or product here, move it from here up to the tips of your fingers. What you want to do then is you're going to relax your hands. So most of the product is going to stay in your palm of your hand, and you've got some on the tips of your fingers. Then what you're going to do is, you're going to, from back to front, as you come from the back towards the front, you're going to do a side to side motion like this. And you're going to do the same on the other side. And then what you want to do, if there's any more left or you need a bit more product, you're then going to do this and bring it up to the tips of your fingers again. The challenge you find with it is you put the product here, you've got too much product there, you go like that and you get a big, it almost looks like a bird's flown over and dropped it on you from above. So just bear that in mind. Pop it here and then up to the tips of your fingers, relax your hands down. Style it into the shape that you want to get it looking like. Have a little look at it. And then what I tend to do, once I've styled it, there might be some bits I look at and think, that possibly needs a little bit more work on it. So there's a little bit on, that bit there is bothering me. So I'll have a little look once it's styled and then reassess. Let's just take that off again, just that motion using this part of my scissor until the hair sort of thins out towards the end and comes off. Just pick out, move it around again, have another little look. a little bit there. So remember, when you lift hair off the head, you're giving it a little bit more lift and volume, and it makes it a little bit more see-through, so it doesn't look quite as thick. As soon as you pat this down, it starts to look really, really thick, and it looks like a completely different haircut when you do that, but it looks really blocky and sort of like, ugh. Well, not but it just looks thicker. As soon as you put your hand through it and do that, you start to see through it more, and it just softens up this haircut. Now you can style it differently. You could push it all over to one side, have quite a short fringe, use the palm of my hand there, get some of that product on there. Or what you could do is, again, look at flattening these bits off. If you've got enough length behind here, you could look at tucking this behind the ear. So these are all things that you can talk to your client with. And again, if you're starting around the sides, these are things that you can discuss. You know, do you want enough length to be able to tuck it behind the ears? Do you wear glasses? What's it going to look like when you've got the glasses on? All these types of things. So styling products, so you've got this one here. And then I just used a powder, backcombing powder, just to give it a little bit of zoom. Great question. So, yeah, you need to have this conversation with your client. The next thing you need to do, and I always do this, and this would be a massive suggestion for you that are doing short haircuts or starting to do it, say to your client, over the next 4 or 5 weeks, can you just keep an eye on which bits get too long too quickly for you, or which bits were better at the start and got worse as it got longer? So when they come in next time, you can then have a conversation about, okay, which bits worked, which bits didn't work. Because I don't know about you, I see a lot of people between 6 weeks and 6 weeks, and I can't remember everything. But clients have only got to remember one of you. So if you give them the information, can you keep an eye on it for me? Can you let me know which bits get too long too quickly? Which bits worked better at the start because they were shorter? Let me know next time you come in and we can look at rejigging that. So between yourself and your client, it becomes an evolving thing. Also, it's a great opportunity to talk about colour when you've got, and you can colour these heads, by the way, so don't forget you can colour these heads. But when you're looking at clients in a salon, you'll find that, because the hair is really, really short, condition isn't as paramount as when it's really, really long. Obviously, you've got like 4 or 5 years worth of conditioned hair or not conditioned hair that you've got to take into consideration. When it's short like this, 2 haircuts, it's back to virgin hair again. So you can really play around with colour. So sometimes it's a time to start talking to clients more about bold colour choices. Also, it's quite a good time to start talking about makeup as well. So often you'll find when you start to go shorter with your hair, makeup just tends to need to be a little bit stronger just to bring your features out a little bit more. Again, not always necessarily, but if you can give your clients a little bit more confidence in regards to not just the haircut, but what it's going to feel like when they get back. Remember, it's a big choice for them, but it's also a big choice for their partners, their husbands, wives, girlfriends, lovers, whatever else there, because they look at them and think, oh my God, what the hell's happened with their hair? It's really short. I'm not sure of it. And that all can add up to this lack of confidence that sometimes people have when they go for shorter haircuts. So give them as much information as you can. Say to them, it's going to be a big shock for other people as well. But that's the reason we do it, isn't it? Surely. So that's the short haircut. This is going to be up. There's a competition, don't forget. So you can enter. All the details are in the bio on this bit. So you need to tag us. You need to put it up on there, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll decide who's won. That means you get to win one of these lovely heads, which you can then store and keep away as well.